Good morning, afternoon, everyone. I want to begin today with a simple but powerful idea. Not everyone will like you, and that's absolutely okay. In a world where we try so hard to seek approval, to be liked, to be accepted, we forget one important truth. The purpose of life is not to please people, but to live meaningfully. Let them hate you. Yes, let them. Because their opinion does not define your worth. We often get so trapped in the web of other people's judgments that we stop being ourselves. You may try to be good, you may try to be kind, you may try to help, but still someone will criticize you, someone will misunderstand you, someone will gossip about you, and that's okay. It's their problem, not yours. Many of us live our lives constantly measuring our worth through the lens of other people's opinions. We ask ourselves, do they like me? Did I impress them? Will they approve of my choices? We unconsciously attach our happiness, confidence, and self-esteem to the fluctuating judgments of others, forgetting that these opinions are often influenced by the person giving them, not by the reality of who we are. The truth is, no matter how hard you try, there will always be people who misunderstand you, criticize you, or fail to recognize your efforts. Yet the irony is that their opinions hold power only if you allow them to. Your worth is inherent. It is not negotiable and cannot be determined by someone else's fleeting perspective. Recognizing this is the first step toward personal freedom and genuine self-confidence. When you let the opinions of others dictate your self-perception, you surrender your power. Every decision you make becomes a calculation aimed at pleasing someone else rather than honoring your authentic self. You may find yourself saying yes to things you don't want to do, suppressing your voice to avoid conflict, or changing your behavior to fit into a mold that was never meant for you. This creates a life that looks polished on the outside, but feels hollow on the inside. Authenticity is sacrificed for acceptance. Creativity is stifled by fear of judgment, and potential remains unrealized because it is constantly filtered through the lens of what others might think. Understanding that your worth is independent of others' opinions allows you to live boldly. When you fully internalize this truth, every decision you make can be guided by purpose rather than approval. You begin to act according to your values, pursue your passions without hesitation, and speak your truth without fear. People may misunderstand you, they may criticize you, and they may even try to bring you down. But the impact of their opinions diminishes because your self-perception is grounded in something far more substantial: your integrity, your effort, and your character. When your sense of value is self-determined, external opinions become data, not directives. They can provide insight if constructive, but they can no longer derail your confidence or define your path. This perspective also reshapes the way you handle criticism. Constructive feedback, when received with humility, can guide growth and improvement. However, when criticism stems from envy, misunderstanding, or bias, it is simply noise, irrelevant and unworthy of internalization. By separating these two types of input, you protect your mental and emotional energy, ensuring that you invest it in meaningful growth rather than in defending your worth to people who are not capable of seeing it. The ability to distinguish between helpful and unhelpful opinions is a skill that multiplies your effectiveness, resilience, and emotional intelligence. It allows you to remain focused on your journey without being distracted or demoralized by the inevitable negativity that comes from the world. Moreover, recognizing that your worth is independent of external validation opens the door to authentic relationships and genuine connections. When you stop seeking approval, you attract people who value you for who you truly are rather than for the image you project. You cultivate environments where honesty, mutual respect, and encouragement thrive. Relationships become partnerships instead of competitions for validation, and your network grows stronger, more supportive, and aligned with your vision. Ultimately, embracing the idea that your worth is not defined by the opinions of others empowers you to lead a life of courage, confidence, and purpose. It enables you to pursue your goals with unwavering commitment, take risks without fear of judgment, and live in alignment with your deepest values. You begin to understand that the measure of your life is not how many people like you, but how true you remain to yourself, how consistently you act with integrity, and how fully you embrace the potential that is uniquely yours. Criticism is an unavoidable part of life, yet most people react to it as if it defines them. We are conditioned to take every negative comment personally, to dwell on the judgments of others, and to let their words shape our self-image. The reality, however, is that criticism is often more about the person delivering it than the person receiving it. It reflects their fears, insecurities, misunderstandings, and biases, rather than the truth of your abilities, intentions, or character. When you begin to see criticism as a mirror of someone else's inner world, rather than a verdict on your worth, you reclaim a level of freedom that few people ever experience. Many times, criticism comes from a place of envy, fear, or projection. Someone who feels insecure about their own achievements may attempt to diminish yours. Someone who cannot envision a different perspective may judge your choices harshly. Someone who is struggling internally may project their dissatisfaction onto you. In these moments, the negativity is not a reflection of your value or performance. It is a reflection of their internal struggles. Understanding this distinction is essential because it allows you to remain composed and focused rather than defensive or discouraged. It shifts the power from the critic to you because you are no longer reacting to their narrative, you are observing it. Learning to separate valid feedback from unnecessary criticism is a skill that transforms both your personal and professional life. Constructive criticism, delivered with clarity and intention, can provide valuable insight into areas where growth is possible. It can highlight blind spots, suggest improvements, and help refine your approach. Unconstructive criticism, on the other hand, is often vague, mean-spirited, or motivated by personal agendas. When faced with the latter, the wise response is not to internalize it, but to acknowledge it briefly, let it pass, and continue forward. Your energy is finite and precious, and devoting it to addressing baseless judgments drains you without producing results. When criticism is reframed as their problem and not yours, it also changes the way you respond to people. You stop over-explaining, over-apologizing, or defending yourself unnecessarily. You recognize that people's opinions are optional filters through which you can choose what to accept and what to discard. This mindset reduces anxiety, builds confidence, and strengthens resilience. You learn to act from your values, your purpose, and your vision, rather than being swayed by external pressure or fear of disapproval. Every time you resist reacting defensively to unwarranted criticism, you reinforce your independence and assert your right to live on your own terms. The power of understanding that criticism is their problem is evident in the lives of extraordinary individuals. Leaders, innovators, and visionaries who have shaped the world faced relentless criticism and skepticism. They were misunderstood, doubted, and often ridiculed for choices that later proved revolutionary. Their secret was not in avoiding criticism, but in refusing to let it dictate their path. They stayed true to their principles, remained focused on their goals, and allowed criticism to exist without internalizing it. In doing so, they transformed what could have been a stumbling block into a source of clarity and strength. Embracing this perspective also fosters emotional intelligence and empathy. When someone criticizes you harshly, you begin to see it as a reflection of their struggles rather than an attack on you. This reduces hostility, diffuses tension, and allows for more thoughtful interactions. You can respond with patience, calm, and professionalism, which often diffuses negativity and models a higher standard of behavior. You maintain your integrity while others reveal theirs through their reactions. And in this contrast, your confidence and clarity are reinforced. Ultimately, recognizing that criticism is their problem empowers you to focus entirely on what truly matters: your growth, your purpose, and your contributions. It allows you to navigate life with grace, clarity, and unwavering focus, knowing that other people's judgments do not have the authority to define your journey, derail your progress, or diminish your self-worth. The moment you internalize this, every critical comment loses its grip on your mind, and your energy becomes a tool for achievement rather than a target for distraction. Every path worth taking in life is accompanied by resistance. The pursuit of greatness is never smooth or universally applauded. When someone steps beyond the comfort zone of the ordinary and dares to dream bigger, to act differently, or to challenge the status quo, opposition is inevitable. Resistance is not a sign of failure. It is an indicator that you are moving towards something meaningful. The very act of creating impact, influencing others, or making decisions that align with your purpose will attract scrutiny, doubt, and even hostility. Understanding this reality is essential because it reframes adversity not as a setback, but as a marker of progress. History is filled with individuals whose contributions were initially met with criticism, ridicule, or disbelief. Visionaries, innovators, and leaders did not achieve greatness by conforming to what was safe, popular, or expected. They faced resistance because their ideas, actions, and courage threatened comfort zones, both their own and those of others. When the Wright brothers attempted to fly, they were laughed at. When Mahatma Gandhi advocated for nonviolent resistance, he was criticized by both friends and foes. When Steve Jobs introduced revolutionary technology, he faced skepticism from peers and industry experts. Resistance, in these cases, was not an obstacle to stop them, but a signal that they were venturing into uncharted territory, breaking norms and creating impact. Resistance often comes from multiple sources: societal norms, fear of change, jealousy, or a lack of understanding. People are naturally inclined to resist what they do not comprehend, and anyone attempting to rise above the average level will inevitably encounter such forces. Resistance can take the form of criticism, opposition, or even passive indifference, yet it can also be an unintentional validation of your vision. When someone doubts your capabilities or questions your choices, it is frequently a reflection of the boundaries they cannot imagine breaking themselves. This understanding allows you to detach emotionally from resistance, using it as a compass rather than a barrier. Greatness requires resilience, and resilience is forged in the fire of resistance. Every challenge, objection, or moment of doubt is an opportunity to refine your skills, strengthen your mindset, and reaffirm your purpose. Resistance teaches patience, perseverance, and discernment. It forces you to examine your motivations, clarify your goals, and develop the mental toughness necessary to stay committed despite adversity. Those who avoid resistance by seeking comfort, approval, or avoidance rarely reach extraordinary levels of achievement, because greatness is inherently uncomfortable, demanding, and often lonely. Understanding that resistance is part of the journey also transforms how you approach criticism and negativity. Instead of feeling threatened by opposing voices, you begin to see them as natural companions on your path to success. Their existence does not negate your capabilities or your vision. It simply confirms that your actions are significant enough to provoke attention. The presence of resistance signals that you are challenging complacency, exceeding expectations, and operating at a level that requires courage, foresight, and unwavering focus. Each opposing opinion, each skeptical remark, and each obstacle becomes a reminder that you are on the right path, moving towards something that truly matters. Moreover, Embracing resistance cultivates a mindset of proactive learning. Rather than allowing negativity to demotivate you, you can extract lessons from it, distinguish what is constructive from what is irrelevant, and use it to strengthen your approach. Resistance becomes an invisible mentor, teaching humility, strategy, and emotional intelligence. The more you internalize this mindset, the less fear you have of judgment, failure, or misunderstanding. You recognize that the measure of greatness is not in how few people oppose you, but in how faithfully you pursue your mission despite opposition. Ultimately, understanding that greatness comes with resistance empowers you to navigate life with courage, clarity, and determination. It allows you to embrace challenges, stay focused on your vision, and persist through moments that would otherwise derail an ordinary mindset. Resistance is not a signal to retreat, it is a signal to rise, to endure, and to continue with unwavering commitment, knowing that every obstacle is shaping you into the person capable of achieving what others only dream about. One of the greatest traps that hold people back from living authentically and achieving their potential is the constant need for validation. From a young age, we are conditioned to seek approval from parents, teachers, peers, and society. This conditioning teaches us to measure our self-worth not by our values, efforts, or achievements, but by the praise, recognition, or acceptance we receive from others. While feedback can be valuable, when it becomes a driving force in our lives, it leads to a cycle of dependence, anxiety, and distraction. Chasing validation shifts our focus from what we want to what we think others expect, and in doing so, we compromise our authenticity, creativity, and ability to make meaningful impact. Seeking validation often manifests in subtle ways. It can be the constant desire for approval in the workplace, the need for likes and comments on social media, or the urge to conform to the expectations of friends and family. Even the decisions we make in our personal lives, our careers, relationships, and hobbies can be influenced by the perceived judgment of others. When we operate from this mindset, every action is filtered through an external lens, and our decisions are driven more by fear of disapproval than by passion or purpose. This not only diminishes our confidence, but also stifles our growth, because we are constantly bending ourselves to fit someone else's standard rather than pursuing what is truly meaningful to us. The pursuit of validation is exhausting because it is a never-ending cycle. People's opinions are subjective, inconsistent, and often contradictory. No matter how much you achieve or how well you perform, there will always be someone who doubts you, criticizes you, or fails to recognize your efforts. When you build your self-esteem on these shifting sands, you will always feel incomplete, insecure, and anxious. True freedom comes when you stop seeking validation externally and start grounding your worth internally. Your value is inherent. It is not something that can be granted or revoked by others. When you internalize this truth, the need for constant approval diminishes, and your energy can be redirected toward purposeful action. Letting go of the need for validation requires courage, self-awareness, and consistent practice. It begins with the recognition that your life is yours to live, and no one else has the authority to determine your worth. Every decision you make, every goal you pursue, and every challenge you take on should be motivated by your own standards, your principles, and your long-term vision. This does not mean ignoring feedback or refusing to learn from others. Rather, it means discerning which opinions matter and which are irrelevant. Constructive input can guide growth, but blind approval or disapproval should never dictate your direction. When you stop chasing validation, your mindset shifts from dependency to empowerment. You begin to act decisively, take risks, and pursue unconventional paths without fear of judgment. You find the courage to speak your truth, to follow your passions, and to express yourself fully, even when others do not understand or approve. This authenticity becomes magnetic, drawing the right people, opportunities, and experiences into your life. Instead of trying to fit into molds created by others, you create your own path, built on integrity, clarity, and purpose. Liberation from external validation allows you to live boldly, think creatively, and focus on the impact you want to create rather than the applause you hope to receive. Furthermore, ceasing the pursuit of validation fosters emotional resilience. When you no longer rely on approval, criticism loses its power, rejection becomes a learning experience, and setbacks are viewed as opportunities for growth rather than judgments on your worth. You develop a mindset that is anchored in self-respect and self-belief, enabling you to navigate challenges with confidence and clarity. You become immune to the superficial pressures of social comparison and instead operate from a deep understanding of your unique abilities, aspirations, and values. Negativity is a constant in life. It can come from people, circumstances, or even our own thoughts. Often, we find ourselves entangled in its influence, reacting impulsively and allowing it to shape our emotions, decisions, and outlook. Yet the ability to rise above negativity is what separates those who thrive from those who merely survive. Negativity, whether in the form of criticism, doubt, envy, or pessimism, is inevitable. What matters is not its existence, but how we choose to respond to it. The power to remain unaffected, to continue moving forward with clarity and purpose, lies within each of us, waiting to be embraced. When negativity surrounds you, it can feel personal and overwhelming. People may criticize your choices, dismiss your ideas, or express doubt about your capabilities. Sometimes the negativity comes from those closest to us, making it sting even more. However, it is essential to understand that negativity often stems from factors unrelated to you. It is frequently a reflection of someone else's insecurities, frustrations, or limited perspective. By recognizing this, you detach emotionally and gain a clear perspective that allows you to focus on what truly matters. The more you internalize that negative opinions are about the other person's limitations, the less power they hold over your mindset and actions. Rising above negativity also requires cultivating inner strength and resilience. This involves maintaining emotional equilibrium in the face of criticism, gossip, or doubt. It means refusing to allow someone else's pessimism to infiltrate your vision or diminish your motivation. Resilience is not built overnight. It is developed through practice, reflection, and a conscious decision to prioritize your growth over external judgments. By consistently choosing to focus on solutions instead of complaints, on progress instead of obstacles, and on your purpose instead of distractions, you develop a mental framework that is impervious to unnecessary negativity. Negativity can also be a subtle distraction, diverting energy from meaningful pursuits. Worrying about what others think, overanalyzing criticisms, or getting caught in cycles of resentment consumes time and focus that could otherwise be invested in personal or professional growth. Rising above negativity requires disciplined focus and intentional action. It is about redirecting your energy toward what you can control, what you can create, and what aligns with your long-term vision. Every moment spent ruminating over negativity is a moment lost in building the life you desire. Recognizing this empowers you to act decisively, remain productive, and maintain a forward trajectory despite the noise surrounding you. Furthermore, rising above negativity transforms your interactions and relationships. When you refuse to engage in gossip, judgment, or reactive arguments, you model maturity, composure, and confidence. People are drawn to those who maintain calm and clarity under pressure, and this often shifts the energy of interactions in a positive direction. Instead of being pulled down by pessimism, You become a source of encouragement, inspiration, and constructive dialogue. The ability to remain composed amidst negativity also strengthens your influence, allowing you to lead by example rather than by authority or force. Developing the habit of rising above negativity also fosters a mindset of opportunity and growth. Instead of viewing opposition or criticism as a barrier, you begin to see it as a challenge that can refine your skills, sharpen your perspective, and strengthen your resolve. Negativity, in this sense, becomes a catalyst for improvement rather than a hindrance. It teaches patience, empathy, and strategic thinking, allowing you to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. The more you practice detachment from negativity, the more freedom you gain to make decisions aligned with your purpose, and the more resilient and confident you become in navigating life's uncertainties. Ultimately, rising above negativity is a conscious, daily choice. It is a decision to prioritize your values, your purpose, and your growth over the fleeting judgments, doubts, and criticisms of others. By cultivating this ability, you maintain control of your mindset, protect your energy, and continue advancing toward your goals with clarity, confidence, and unwavering determination. Negativity may exist around you, but it no longer exists within you. And this is where true power resides. True freedom in life does not come from wealth, status, or external achievements. It comes from being authentically yourself. It comes from living in alignment with your values, principles, and passions, rather than bending, masking, or compromising to satisfy the expectations of others. Many people live their lives as shadows of what they could be, shaped by societal norms, peer pressure, or the fear of judgment. They chase approval, avoid conflict, and prioritize image over integrity, believing that external validation equates to success or happiness. In reality, freedom is rooted in authenticity, and the courage to live true to oneself is the foundation of a life of purpose, fulfillment, and resilience. Being true to yourself requires self-awareness. You must understand your values, recognize your passions, and identify your goals independent of external influence. This is not always easy, because the world constantly presents standards, rules, and expectations designed to conform behavior rather than encourage individuality. It requires deep reflection, courage, and the willingness to question assumptions that have been imposed upon you. Once you develop a clear sense of who you are and what you stand for, decisions become easier, actions more deliberate, and confidence more grounded. You no longer act to satisfy others, you act to honor your principles and aspirations. Freedom is also a mindset. It is the ability to make choices without fear of judgment, rejection, or misunderstanding. When you are authentic, criticism becomes informational rather than personal, and disapproval loses its ability to destabilize you. You begin to understand that not everyone will agree with your choices, support your dreams, or understand your path, and that is perfectly fine. The opinions of others no longer control your emotions, dictate your actions, or define your worth. Instead, you operate from a place of internal validation where your sense of value and purpose comes from within, not from the fluctuating perceptions of the outside world. Living true to yourself also requires courage to resist conformity. Society often rewards those who follow trends, conform to norms, or follow predictable paths. To honor your authenticity means being willing to stand alone, challenge conventional wisdom, and make decisions that may be misunderstood or criticized. It is not a path of ease, it is a path of integrity. Every time you resist the pressure to fit in, compromise your principles, or suppress your voice, you strengthen your character and expand your personal freedom. Courage in this sense becomes the bridge between who you are and who you have the potential to become. Authenticity also transforms relationships and interactions. When you are true to yourself, you attract people who respect, support, and resonate with your vision, values, and energy. Relationships become based on mutual understanding and appreciation rather than pretense or expectation. You no longer seek approval or adapt to please. You engage with others from a position of honesty and integrity. This fosters deeper connections, reduces conflict, and creates an environment where collaboration and growth flourish. By embracing authenticity, you build a life and network that reflect your true self rather than an image designed to appease others. Being true to yourself allows for intentional action and purposeful living. Every decision becomes aligned with your long-term goals rather than short-term approval. You invest energy where it matters, pursue opportunities that resonate with your values, and navigate challenges with clarity and confidence. Life becomes less about impressing others and more about fulfilling your unique potential. The liberation from external expectations gives you the freedom to innovate, take risks, and pursue growth without fear. It is in this space that real achievement, impact, and satisfaction are cultivated. Ultimately, freedom is inseparable from authenticity. The moment you embrace your true self, live according to your principles, and act without the need for external validation, you experience a sense of empowerment that no circumstance or opinion can diminish. You move through life with clarity, confidence, and resilience, fully aware that the only approval you truly need is your own. Authenticity is the essence of freedom, and living it is the most courageous, rewarding, and transformative choice one can make. So, from today onwards, don't lower your worth to fit into someone else's shallow perception. Don't chase validation. Don't seek applause. Just be who you were born to be. Strong, kind, confident, and focused. If people love you, wonderful. If they don't, let them hate you. Because your journey is not about them. It's about you, your growth, your happiness, and your purpose. Thank you so much. Stay strong, stay smiling, and stay blessed.